What's up, guys? Kingpin Pete here. We're back. Apologies about last week. Had to travel for work unexpectedly. Then I had a wedding I was supposed to go to last weekend as well. So kind of took me when I emailed Justin, wasn't able to upload the video. So get into the picks in a second. Then afterwards, had a few questions about what's life like on parole or probation, like what's it really like. So I'll talk about that at the end. Quickly, let's get into these picks. You didn't miss anything. Well, me not having a video last week, I ended up going 3-2. Brings the overall record now at 18, 16, and 1. So for this contest that I'm in, I have 18.5 points. First place has 24 points. So I'm kind of far away from first place now, but no, I'm in 35th out of 104 entries. Just need to be top 10 the cash. Only halfway through the year. What are we, 7 weeks in? Yeah, 7 out of 17. We're doing fine. I'm not worried at all. We have a positive record. Just try to keep it going. So let's start it off. A play that lost last week, hasn't lost since week 1, is betting against the worst team in the league. The Jets actually covered a game. The Bills ended up kicking 6 field goals. Is what it is. You can't really, Bills kick 6 field goals. I don't know what to tell you. They could not close it out. So usually, either could assess whether or not they're actually the worst team in the league and switch, like we did week 1. Jaguars, we switched to Jets week 2. We've been riding them. Or I can go back to it. So we're going back to it. If this loses, I have to get off the Jets. I might actually abandon this thing altogether, something I usually do early in the season. But for now, we're going to go against the Jets. We're going to take the Chiefs. Minus 19.5. Not a number you want to lay. Not a number that you feel comfortable laying. But if you really think about it, the Chiefs are going to get 30. They're going to score 30. I don't see the Jets scoring more than 7. How? They had 4 yards in the second half. How do they only have 4 yards in the second half, and you expect them to? So many people saying take the Jets. Take what? Even if they scored 10, I just said the Chiefs are scoring over 30, 31, 34, 35, 37, all these football numbers. That's where you expect the Chiefs to score. You see the Jets even scoring, like, I can't even imagine seeing the thing with the Jets scoring at least 10 or 14. Hell no. I don't even have a choice, or it's an automatic pick. But, going into these games is tough. Like, the Patriots game, look at it, the Patriots are going to lose 4 in a row. I don't know. The Bills actually good. Stay away. Dolphins, they're starting Tua. Like, what do you think there? Stay away. You have some heavy favorites here and there in different spots. The Bucks or, our Chiefs already was stuck taking them. But it's like, you got to stay away. And then you have DiNucci starting. You have a lot of people saying take the Eagles and different stuff. Stay away. And it's like narrowing down how many games we have left. Colts, Detroit Lions. You can flip a coin. You could literally have a coin that says Colts and Lions, and then whatever, it's 50-50. Stay away. We're running out of games to go to now. But I just thought about it. Try to take a deep breath. Like, what's your one pick? I couldn't even get one pick. I could get one pick. The first pick I should get was Steelers. I saw that line. Steelers gained 4. They're playing a division rival. They're playing the Ravens. The Ravens haven't looked like unbelievable. Lamar Jackson is in an MVP race like he was last year at this time. So I think them laying 4 is kind of insane. I really like the Steelers here. So that was actually my one pick that I was comfortable taking. I took them last week. I've been kind of riding them, and I've been kind of a fan. I just don't know why Vegas doesn't like them. I don't know 4. If it was 3, I kind of would stay away. I could see the Ravens winning by 3, last second field goal, something like that with Tucker, but 4? I don't know. So at this point, I could not find a second pick, let alone a third pick I had to make. So I thought about it, and like, what's one you would really feel comfortable betting? Like, honestly, it's the Titans. The Titans minus 5.5. You definitely feel comfortable taking. The Bengals looked good in the first half last game. They were up 21-0 against the Colts. Everything looked good, and it started to fall apart. The Titans finally lost last week, but they actually started to look great in the second half. Laying 5.5 is such a low number. You should be more 6.5, 7, in my opinion. Especially with Derrick Henry, they definitely just break off an 80, 90-yard run at the end of the game. So it's nothing's against. 5.5 is such a low number. There's a lot of people that have been riding the Bengals. I've taken the Bengals twice. This seems like a popular against the groove pick is picking them. Used to be the Jaguars in the past couple of years. It's looking like it's leaning towards the Bengals now. But 5.5 is just so low. Actually, I don't even know what the current line is. It has to have gone up. That doesn't even make sense. Titans win. I say they win by at least 10. The 5.5 is easy money. So then my last pick, this is when I started crossing off games that I wasn't going to bet or I didn't like, I didn't take. And then it got me to the point where I didn't really like anything, but I was like, the Chargers are giving 3? I don't like that. So Broncos +3 is your last pick. Do not love the Broncos. Do not love them at all. Drew Lock's first game last week. Things that actually weren't that bad. They played the Chiefs. They got blown out, yes. But the defense did not look terrible. There was a kickoff return for a touchdown. The first one of 2020. Hasn't happened all year. There was a pick six. They did an onside kick late in the game in which the backups were in on offense and defense, and Chad Henne scored a rushing touchdown for the Chiefs. It was kind of just a weird game. Mahomes didn't even, maybe threw exactly 200. No receiver had more than like 60 yards receiving. None of the running backs had over 50 yards rushing. It was just a weird game. The scoreboard didn't really reflect what we saw. Drew Lock's back. Another game this week, settling in the cold weather of Colorado. And you have Sunshine Boy, Justin Herbert, coming in to play him there. And I think it's them laying points. Just if it was like pick 'em, that would make more sense, and I would stay away. They're giving home underdogs I love. You bring them back to trucking. I'll take the home underdogs. I absolutely love it. So Broncos +3 is that last pick. Then the fifth pick, as we know, is the random number generator. After all the picks are made, came through. Number 5. Number 5 is the road game in the third team, or the home team in the third game listed, which is the Packers -6.5. Packers, I don't hate the play. Usually when I hate the play, it wins. So the fact that I kind of like it's kind of scary. It's gonna be like 25-mile-an-hour winds, but Dalvin Cook had an injury, just come back off the bye. I don't even know how many carries he's gonna get for Madison. Packers have established run game. Hopefully Aaron Jones plays, but I feel comfortable there. All right. So a popular question I got was, Pete, what was it like when you're actually on parole probation? Because I talked about the first day out and how I had to see them both and this and that. So as I explained on the first day out, you have to pay them. It's not free, but it kind of makes sense. They were trying to talk in like it was budgetary restrictions. You wouldn't be like, oh, we can't let this dude out on probation. Oh, we're trying to keep below the budget. We're in November. Can't really be doing that, So it kind of makes more sense. And then if there's more people that have to be let out on parole probation, then they just hire more PO officers or, so it was $80 for parole per month. I was on that for 15 months. Then it was $65 a month for probation. I did that for 3 years. So obviously the probation person is a little bit more relaxed. I mean, you get out, you have to do a drug test for both of them. You have to do like a psych evaluation for both of them. And just like you would think the government works, if you do a psych evaluation for parole, the probation officer is asking you to take a psych evaluation. You're like, well, I already paid for one. I already did one with parole. Why would I have to do one with you? It's like, well, we don't communicate with each other. We don't talk to each other. So, I would go to a drug test at parole, go to probation, and be like, we have to give a drug test. Like, why are you not prepared to pee? It was like, I literally passed a drug test 25 minutes ago. I wasn't ready, just chugging water, coffee, whatever, when I would go just to make sure I could go pee. It was insane that they never talked to each other, but whatever. I moved different counties like 4 times, or, I moved around because as I kept going, so towards living in Boston and all that, so I saw it had different many people. Some of them were mean, some of them were nice. I don't know why people were mean. It didn't make sense. One thing to remember though is like, you might have an aunt or uncle, friend, or someone that was on probation. They were probably on probation in district court. So it's a different kind of probation officer. It's really dealing with the low-level crimes. So they definitely kind of see more kinds of people. So my case was escalated, and I was indicted. So I went to superior court, which means I'm in superior court probation, superior court parole. So they deal with definitely way more serious people, and they definitely have everybody on a shorter leash because we're all serious, in their mind, serious criminals. So, so it was kind of tough doing different things. I was maybe out for a couple weeks. It's tough because you don't have a license. I think I described that in the last video. If you commit a crime while driving, they just take your license. Makes sense. So I had actually lost mine for 5 years. So when I had first gotten out, I didn't have a license. I lived in the suburbs. I didn't live in the city. So I'm getting yelled at by my parole officer, not my probation officer, saying like, we're going to send you back, this and that, because you're not working enough of your job. And it's like, dude, how do I even get to a job? Like, I don't have transportation. Like, this isn't how this works. I don't have any transportation to get to said job. I don't even I was like a 1 hour walk to a bus stop, the one bus stop in East Palmetto. There's no, I didn't understand, so what I did, I was working at a restaurant at the time, was I just asked, like, hey, can I just work open to close, like, back-to-back days? And they're like, all right. So I was working I was working Monday, 9 a.m. to, like, 10 p.m. Wednesday, like, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Thursday, I would come in just for dinner. Friday, I would come in just for dinner. I'd still have the weekends off, and I was working, 30-something hours to keep him happy. But it's like, it's only so many times when people can pick me up and drop me off, like, people going out of their way to help me out. I'm inconvenient. Did they realize that I'm inconveniencing them on a day-to-day basis? I don't know. But definitely once I did get a license, it was better. But when you did get a license, instead of waiting the full 5 years, halfway through that time, I was able to get something called a Cinderella license. So it was about 12 hours per day. I'm allowed to drive, so I get to choose whatever window I want, depending if you have kids, you go to work or this or that. So I actually chose 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Because I was working at the restaurant, like I said, so that way if I got out at 9 or 9:30, I'd be like, ooh, I could drive home. Also, I had class. I forgot exactly the reason why I did 10 to 10. I think it had something to do with school as well. But that kind of stunk too, eventually got it removed like years later. But, 5 years is what they take it for if you get caught trafficking drugs in a vehicle, which stinks. You had to go through a lot of paperwork, or you had to, constantly getting drug tests. They could show up and revoke your parole or probation at any time and send you back. And like I said, I worked at intake, so I saw so many times people had come back. It's like, what do you have? VOP, violation of parole, violation of probation. So it was like, oh, VOP. It's like, well, what'd you do? And a lot of times people were hanging out with convicted felons or other stuff. A lot of times it's their brothers or their cousins, aunts, uncles, maybe a guy at the barbershop that they always hang out with, or someone at AA or NA, something like that. I've seen people come back for it all because they can show up at any time. They just call you and be like, hey, where you at? What are you doing? I remember I was helping a neighbor like load some equipment onto a pickup truck. My parole officer came and was like, hey, how do you know those guys? Who are those guys? And it's like, I don't know. It's like my neighbor and his band. Like, I don't know. I'm just helping loading the truck. They're like, all right, I just don't know who those guys. It's like, I don't know who they are either. I'm not allowed. So then, sometimes in my mind, I'm like, damn, I really can't be around no one I don't know, But, it was all about just not violating it. Just making sure, you meet girls, you meet other stuff. They want to hang out. You cannot drink, cannot do drugs, cannot. So if a girl wants to hang out, fine, we can hang out. I have no car, no way to get to you. Like Uber wasn't like big around then. So there's no Uber. There's no car. I have to be in my house by 10 o'clock, and I can't drink or do drugs. So you're in your young 20s, and, it's like harder to hang out with females or anything, I could stay out past 10 o'clock if I was working. So if I was working at the bar, but then my license wouldn't work, so then someone would have to pick me up. But, at the bar, I could stay late when I was working, different events, or if there was a band playing, work until 11 or 12 o'clock at night, but then someone would have to give me a ride home. But, it wasn't that bad. I remember one time I showed up the day after, speaking of Halloween, the day after Halloween, he showed up at like 6 a.m., breathalyzed me, and he gave me a drug test, because the alcohol was slipping on my breath if I was out drinking late last night. And I was like, dude, I told you I was working last night. I think I worked till like 1 or 2 a.m. It was a huge party. It was crazy at the bar. It was like one of the busiest times that I've ever seen. Obviously I passed both of them, but he was like, why do you look like shit? It's like, I went to bed like 4 hours ago. I told you I was working. They would just be mean for no reason sometimes. Definitely once I did move into the district of Boston, it was within the limits that I'm telling them, hey, I'm going to school, or here's my job, or this or that. They were kind of cool with it. I think the only thing I ever ran into that was a problem was when I got an internship. So near impossible for me to get an internship in Boston. I'm a convicted felon, and you look around at all the colleges in the area. It's like, no, we want the Bentley kids. I want the BU kids. I want the BC kids. I want the, they don't want anyone from just a regular college. They want the Harvard kids. They want, they want those kids to be their interns. They don't want just regular Joe Blow from a normal university. So I just started applying. Screw it. I started applying across the country. I'm still on probation at this time, so I'm just applying And this is me calling every day for a drug test and this and that. And I kind of talked to my probation officer. He was like, yeah, it's cool. You can. And then I don't think he expected me to actually get a job. I got accepted to a job out west. I went out there. I eventually went out there all summer, but I had to go through all this paperwork. I had to go in front of a judge. I had to explain to him why or what I was going to be doing on my probation. Once I came back, I was going to resume my probation. I kind of had to like write up a life story. Like the judge could have said no, which was, I thought was the craziest thing. It's like, why can't I just go and better my life and have a job, doing accounting stuff every single day at a computer? Like how much better is this for my life? Like, what if you say no? What do you think I'm going to do all summer? Or like it seemed weird that we even had to go through the process. There were so many times when, speaking of that, there's so many times when I had different jobs or stuff that I wasn't allowed to do. I had a job at the Big E working at one of the beer tents. And then they're like, nope, you can't work at one of the beer tents because you can't be serving alcohol. It's literally just like, I don't know if people know what the Big E is. You can Google it. West Springfield. It's a huge fair. Just Google Big and then the letter E. It's actually kind of crazy. But there's 1,000 different beer carts where it's just like a tractor with a trailer with like a taps on it and you hand out beer. So I ended up working at like the French fry stand that year just because I'm not allowed to handle alcohol. Or when I worked at the restaurant, I eventually got, they knew I wasn't stupid, so they eventually promoted me up. And I couldn't be a bartender, couldn't be a bar manager, so I was the assistant bar manager that was basically a bar back because I can't be making mixed drinks. I couldn't be doing any of that because that was technically against the rules. But I could be handling all the ordering and checking inventory and checking price and making sure that the price point, everything's all set and stuff like that. And making sure that people's shifts were good and stuff was covered and stuff was clean and fixed and all that. So, I was a manager that never made a mixed drink, which was kind of funny, but it was like the rules, you're not allowed to do that. But at the same time, getting yelled at, like I need to get more hours. It's like, well, this place needs bartenders. Well, you can't serve alcohol, so you can't be a server either. So I was working at Expo and working food runner. It's mind-boggling, the rules and restrictions that they put you on at the same time, like not letting you do this or do that, and or working around or being near this or near that. In 2017 when I got off it, man, it was great. Also a lot of people, one of the first things I did, people asked when I got off probation, smoked weed again. It's fun to smoke weed from time to time. And the whole time I saw so many people go back for failing drug tests for weed. But in my mind, I always said, just wait a couple of years, and then go back to it. And what do you know? It's just like when I waited the whole time I wasn't drinking, then finally started drinking for my first time. It's like, oh, this is cool. Worth the wait. Good thing I didn't rush it. And now you're an adult. And it's just like the people have the patience. And what I learned is that people cannot handle the temptation, or they have people around them that really push the temptation on them. And don't really respect it. Luckily I was surrounded by people that, respected the fact I was on parole or probation, or, if we're somewhere and there's a fight going down, it's like, get Peter out of here, get Pete out, and trying to help me out and, always looking out for me and not really trying to put me in harm's way or put me in any compromising situations. Or, if I'm in a friend's car, there was no weed in the car, there was no open alcohol in the car, I wouldn't get in a car too if there was any of that in there. It was stuff like that was really, really, beneficial and really helped me take the next level and take this to places that people told me was impossible. The people said it was impossible to be sitting here today doing what I do. So I'm just grateful.